If you want to tell a story with the content you're creating, show us step by step what is happening specifically with your B-roll. If you are going to be going from one location to the next, tell us that story. If you're going to be doing something, show us the step-by-step process and then use your voiceover or the words that you're saying directly to camera to then verbalize that story, but you're telling us a visual story. For example, I walked through a house and went outside. To tell that story, what I did was set up my camera in multiple locations to film myself walking through this house in multiple angles. I told the entire visual story. You saw me walking down a hallway. You saw me walking into the pool room. You saw me walking around the pool table to the door. Then you saw me open the door and step outside and then close the door behind me and then continue to walk down to the dock where I would sit in a chair and look out at the water. I told you that story from multiple angles visually because I moved my camera as I went. And that does sometimes mean you're going to have to film from two angles doing the same thing twice. So when I walk down the hall, you see me walking down the hall and turning the corner. But then the next camera is going to be turning the corner and walking into that room. I am transitioning from one location to the next, but that means I have to move my camera source, and you do too. So you can do this on your phone, you can do this with a single camera source, you can do it with multiple camera sources. It doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you're splicing it together to show that continuous story. So we're not breaking it up. If you want to tell really good stories, you have to show all the steps. Obviously, there are some steps you're not going to show us, depending on what you're doing. But if you are moving from one location to the next, or if you're telling a story of how you're doing something, you have to show all of those steps. And you have to do it in a way that's going to be visually appealing. So a great way to practice this is to walk through your house or walk through a location. Maybe you are going to the park and you're going to walk around a corner. Maybe you are going somewhere else. You're going into a store and you're going to show yourself shopping. If you're showing yourself shopping, you can be doing clips from here or there and kind of putting those together as a montage. Or you can show us the actual process of you walking down that aisle and making that turn, and then move the camera and show us you coming around that corner and seeing what's over there and picking up those different things and looking at them. You're showing step by step by step without skipping steps. And that's going to be able to really educate you on how to tell really good stories through the content you are creating. By setting these things up and just testing them, you don't have to use this for anything. It is going to help to train you with how you can be moving your camera and how you can be better telling the stories from that visual perspective while you are having that larger conversation via voiceover or through how you're going to be speaking direct to camera. So telling a story visually is really, really helpful. And doing that without words is also going to be a really good study. So just set up your phone and try going through your house or try doing a task and getting those different angles. And yes, you're going to have to repeat yourself a couple of times the way that you were doing things to make sure you're getting all the angles covered. And then you have to cut them at the right time to tell that story. If you are filming yourself walking down the hallway and turning the corner, you may not have this walking down the hallway and then turning the corner and then have another camera where you're all of a sudden turning around the corner again. You're going to have to splice it in there somewhere. So you're going to have yourself walking down the hallway, and as soon as you start to turn, you see that that movement is happening. You're cutting it there and picking up on the other side where you're actually doing the turning motion and completing that movement. That is going to be really good education for helping you to level up your content, especially as we see social media starting to transition more toward TV-esque content rather than direct to camera, rather than educational, rather than informative content where we're getting to know people, we're forming those parasocial relationships, and we're telling those stories both visually and verbally on our pages. So be mindful of that, especially as we're seeing that transition heavily with YouTube, also with the other social platforms. You want to start learning how to do this to level up your content a little bit easier. And once you practice a number of times and you learn how to cut, you learn how to film, it's going to be much faster because yes, you do have to duplicate everything you're doing to get both angles so that you can cut between those pieces of content. Once you understand how that works and how you're going to do your editing, that then goes way, way faster. It's still a little bit more than just filming straight through, but it is going to allow you to do extra with less time. So in the beginning, yes, it's going to inflate your time, but when you learn, it comes right back down, making it easier for you to tell better stories visually without having to do a ton of extra work. Drop your questions down below, follow along for more. We're going to continue to help you level up your content creation so that you can make better content for what the platforms are looking for right now, so you can be more profitable and spend less time and effort creating that content so you can live your best creator life. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.